Good morning. So normally I spend a lot of time beating around the bush, giving people background, playing out the drama. Today I'm just going to get to the point of what we do. So I'm Gabe Mott. I'm the CEO of Aspire Foods, and we farm insects for human food. Specifically, what we do is we take modern agricultural technology, we bring them to developing countries, and we teach people to farm insects for food as an opportunity to generate food security and sustainability for themselves, for their families, for their economies, for their areas. We also farm insects for food in the United States as well. And really we're looking to bring insects as food to the Western world because it really is an excellent source of sustainable protein. So this is what I do. For those of you who are insect farmers in the audience, that's going to be really interesting. For the rest of you, which I guess the other half or so, you're probably a little less interested in how to farm insects. So I want to talk instead about what I learned about people while farming insects. So let me give you a bit of a background first, just so you understand what it is that we do. So 5 years ago, I didn't think I was going to be an insect farmer. This was not the plan. But I heard about this thing called the Hult Prize, and it's a conjunction between Hult Business Schools and the Clinton Global Initiative. And myself and 4 friends in school, we were doing our MBA together in Canada. We heard about this, and every year the Clinton Global Initiative and the Hult Prize comes up with some big global challenge. And they pitch it out there to the entire world. Some 10,000 teams apply every year to try to resolve this issue. And you're supposed to generate a solution that is a social enterprise. Now, there was some small discussion of social enterprise yesterday, but just to give some quick context on social enterprises, you can imagine the spectrum of businesses. There, on one side, you have full nonprofits. On the other side, you have businesses that are just there to make a whole lot of money. And in between falls social enterprise. And the idea of a social enterprise is that you are a business, you are profit-driven, you make money, but all the money gets invested back into the business, and the objective is to provide a service that is not currently provided to people who desperately need it so that you can improve the world. So rather than looking at a single bottom line, you've got a triple bottom line. You're looking at your impact, not just financial impact in the profits, but you're also looking at your impact on people and their lives and your impact on the environment. So that's social enterprise. So in our year, the concern for the Hult Prize was finding a way to address food security for people who make $2 to $5 a day. And it's not a lot of money to live on. And so when you think about food security, first you think about people just not having food. Food's not available or it's not affordable. They just can't get food. And so then the solution to food insecurity is just you make food available, you make it affordable, you solve that problem. So that's the approach we thought we'd take. And then we looked closer at the populations. And people who make $2 to $5 a day, we traveled around the world. We traveled around the world, looked at a lot of places. And it turns out that if you're making $2 to $5 a day, you're not refugees, you've got jobs, you live somewhere, you have a roof over your head. It might not be a great roof, it might leak, but you have a roof, and you're eating. But your food is high carb, low nutrient, and it's just not great for you. So we decided that really what we needed to do was find a way to make nutritious, quality food available and affordable. And then we thought we could push beyond that, and we could actually empower people to generate their own food. So rather than bring it in supplying people something, give them the skills. Rather than giving someone a cricket to eat, teaching them to farm their crickets. So that's what we did. And insects was our solution. So we took this to the Hult Prize, we pitched it, we're like, this is our solution, and they thought we were crazy, but it was one of those situations where they thought we might just be crazy enough. So Bill Clinton gave us a great big novelty check for $1 million, and then we were off to the races. And just an aside, getting there, we competed against 10,000 teams. It got whittled down to 250, whittled down to 6, and then it was just us. We went through an incubator and an accelerator, and for anyone who's looking at starting a new business, anyone who's oriented towards entrepreneurship, I highly recommend it. There was another team that was on stage with us that year. They didn't win the prize, but they, within a year and a half, had $3 million of funding through another source. So winning is not the end-all and be-all. These things give you just so many opportunities to meet people, to develop your business, to develop your concept, to stress test it. So I recommend it highly for anyone who has the opportunity to go into an accelerator or go into some sort of business competition. So that's what we did. And then it was time, once we won, to put everything into practice. And that's where things started getting hard. And so the first thing I want to talk about actually is nothing about how hard it is to farm crickets and then convince people to eat them. Instead, I want to talk about founders. So we went from 5 founders to 3 founders pretty quickly. And since then, I've watched this happen for a lot of other businesses, and I've watched a lot of businesses fail because they did not navigate that founder transition properly. And I don't want to spend a lot of time dwelling on this, but having talked to people who've done this right and people who've done this wrong, I think we did it quite well. It was painful, but we made it work. And I think part of the thought around this is as you go into a founder transition, as you lose someone, and this can happen to any business. Yeah, we were 5 people. We probably needed to trim no matter what. But I've seen businesses that were 2 founders collapse because one founder wanted to leave and they just could not properly negotiate that transition. And there are a lot of things that can drive that transition. It might be personality, right? You guys just might hate each other. Maybe it's just a difference in the direction that people want to go, the business to go in. But often it's for financial reasons. Or more specifically, it's for risk tolerance reasons. So some people are comfortable with the risk. And the risk of being a founder in a startup, in a small business, it's scary, right? You're walking away from probably a career, a job that's going to have a paycheck. It's not your responsibility to keep the company afloat, so it's not that weight isn't on you day to day. But the hope is that you're going to do long term. You're going to do something meaningful. You're going to make some comfortable money. It'll pay for itself in the long term. And that's what keeps us founders around, keeps us working, keeps us pushing through all those long nights and those weekends, that time away from family. And other people, other founders who get into that situation, they look at it and they say, okay, I mean, I could do that and it would be really exciting to get to the other end of that, but the risk is just not worth it. I just cannot handle risking that job advancement, the salary, the stability. I'm not going to take that risk. But then there's this thing that holds them back, because who wants to walk away from something that might turn into Facebook, right? And so somehow they want the best of both worlds. They want to walk away, but still have the opportunity to still have a piece of it if it turns into that. And I think that's what drives much of the conflict. And there's no easy answers. I can't give you a straight path to negotiating this. I've talked some people through the process and seen it work okay. The best thing to do is recognize the risk tolerance and the calculation, the people who are leaving, what that calculation is for them, and find a way to mitigate that second risk, that risk that they're walking away from $1 billion paycheck, and give them some sort of comfort on that. Maybe it's not a payout, maybe it's a deferred guarantee of some sort of return if the company does extraordinarily well, something. And it's painful for those of you who are staying behind, because you know you're going to work. You're going to put the effort in, and this person's leaving, and they're going to still get a paycheck. But that's the navigation you have to make. And like I said, I've seen probably double-digit companies that have failed because the founders could not work things out. And so I'd really want you to think carefully about that if and when you guys get into that position. So that's founder conflict. Eventually you get to that. And I think in a startup, there are a bunch of things that I'd consider filters that just filter out a lot of startups. They can't make it through. And a lot of them are people-driven. Every startup is going to have people-driven issues. So one is that. Another is what happens when you actually start working. Sometimes this happens at the front end, founder issues come later, and maybe it starts with founder issues and it gets here. But at the front end, you come in, you're like, okay, I'm going to start this company, and I'm going to be a founder, and I'm going to be the chief operating officer. That's good. I can do that. I have a plan. And then there's more things that need doing. And you're like, okay, I'm going to do another thing, and then I'm going to do another thing. And then your job list just gets longer and longer and longer, and then you're doing things that you really didn't think you'd be doing, but you're doing them all. And it's exhausting, and you're not seeing your family, and you're not sleeping, but you're making progress, and the company starts growing, and you start bringing people on, and that's exciting. And as you bring people on, you start handing off those tasks. And it's nice to do that. I went too far. That went way too fast. All right. I was supposed to hand off a lot of tasks. So you hand off a lot of tasks. And as you hand those tasks off, probably it's one person, two people that you bring on, and you're sort of splitting that task array out among those other people. And that's good. It feels good. You get some breathing room. You get to do what you're really good at, because some of those things on that list, I would not say those are my core competencies, right? That's really not where I should be focusing. Bookkeeping, for example, I'm awful at bookkeeping, right? So you bring people on. I'm actually really good at dishwashing. But you bring people on, and you split the tasks, and that's great. And your business improves, and you get better. And then this transition happens. And it's really interesting where all of a sudden, you don't want generalists anymore. You don't want people who can wear a lot of hats. You want the specialists. You want people who really have that focused domain expertise, who can come in and drive that one piece of your business that's critically important. So you bring them in, and your business shifts. It used to be relaxed, casual, you're passing things around, there's not a lot of formality, the communication is really broad and open, and then you necessarily start to stratify. And people will tell you that like companies like Facebook want to be flat, and I don't believe that you can really be that flat. As you bring people in, they have to go into a hierarchy, people have to report to each other. I mean, if I have, Aspire in the US right now is about 35 employees. If I had to direct everybody in my tree and deal with them all the time, I wouldn't be able to do my job. And so people stratify, and this hurts. And you can lose people through this process. You absolutely can. You're also gaining people, and handling those transitions can be tricky. So I want to talk about this concept around hiring and firing, and talk about the hire slow, fire fast concept. So HBR published an article in 2014 or so talking about the idea of hire slow, fire fast. Get that straight. And they thought it was a good idea, and there's a case to be made for it. But then very quickly you started getting responses in the business media. And so Forbes doesn't like that advice. Forbes has a different approach. Fast Company was less nuanced in their criticism. They really were not into the idea. And so you see these disparate opinions out there. But part of it is you keep getting these pat answers. They want you to take one approach. And so here's your 2x2. I like 2x2s. So here's your 2x2. There are your options. HBR wants you to fire slow. Jeez, talking's hard. Hire slow, fire fast. Forbes, hire slow, fire slow. Fast Company, they're Fast Company. Hire fast, fire fast. And it's interesting. You read these articles, you get a sense of what everybody's talking about. and none of them have the right answer. You just can't do that. I've done every single one. So the one thing that nobody wants you to do is hire fast and fire slow, and I've done that. So I've done all of these, and they're right in the different situations, right? You just need to pick them. And so let's think about hiring fast. So if you hire fast, you don't waste any management time, and I don't know how many of you do a lot of hiring, but hiring just chews up so much time, weeks of time doing the recruiting, doing the headhunting, searching out, bringing people in, interviewing them. It bleeds management time. And so if you're hiring fast, you don't have that bleed. You don't run the risk of losing a candidate. I don't know if this happened to you. I've lost people because I hired too slowly and they found another job. People have lost me because they were hiring too slowly and I found another job. So those are serious issues. But I've hired people that were not a good fit for my company. And this is, if you've got 1,000 employees, it's not really a big deal. You bring them on, they're not a good fit, you show them the door. In a startup, you bring them on, they have a chunk of the business that they control, that they own, that they drive, and you need them to be doing a good job. And they influence culture, right? If you're a 10-person company and you bring someone on and they're poisonous, that poisons your company. It's a huge impact. And so taking the time to really reflect, to make sure that you're making the right decision there, that you're not running those risks, that you do have the right skill set is important. But there are ways you can get the best of both worlds. So we do, there are two things we'll do. So sometimes we'll hire fast. We've had to hire an engineering team. I don't have an engineering background. My background is neuroscience. There's not a whole lot of overlap with engineering. And so hiring engineers is tricky for me. And so what we did is we went to our engineers. We had 2 engineers working for us, and we said, find some people that you think are a good fit for our company and send them to us, and we'll give them one quick call, and if we like them, we'll hire them. That's it. We hired people in like 2 days. It was the fastest hire I've ever made, and it's been an incredibly strong decision. Those people are with us. They're driving value better than some of the people we took a lot of time hiring. And the reason we could do that is because the people we chose to do recommendations were totally bought into the company. They were absolutely devoted. These employees were some of my best employees. And when I gave them the opportunity to bring somebody in, I knew that they wanted the company to be great. They wanted to bring the right person, and they wanted to look good, right? They didn't want to bring someone into the company that was going to hurt us, that was going to knock us down, that was going to cause us problems. And so that has been really, really effective. At the same time, sometimes you don't have the relationships, right? You just can't find the people that way. You don't have people on your team who can bring someone in for you. But again, if you hire too slowly, you don't have the resources, and your company slows down. You're not hitting your targets. You're not doing what you need to do. So hiring too slowly can be a real issue. But what we found effective is we've cast a wide net, looked around, found some people who are good fits, and brought them on part-time in a consulting role. So we've done this, I think, on 5 different employees. No, we've done it 7 times. 5 of the people we've hired. Right? 5 of the people, we converted them into full-time jobs after working with them in consulting capacity for a couple months. And it's been really good. One of them was doing their PhD. They couldn't come over right away, or they were doing their postdoc. So it's perfect. They could do some consulting on the side. We could feel them out. They could feel us out. And the nice thing about that is it's not just, am I confident in the employee, but is the employee confident in our company? Every company is different. I've had jobs I didn't like. Right? Companies that I've left. I want to be sure that the employee is bought in, is going to enjoy working for me, is going to enjoy the environment, is going to mesh well. And so hiring slowly this way allows you to get the resources in place when you need them as quickly as possible, and yet still do that assessment process before you commit to them and you shift the culture of your company. So that's worked well for us. Now, let's talk about firing fast. I've fired fast. There are obvious times when you fire fast. If someone does something just truly egregious, and I'm sure we can all imagine things that would justify firing someone instantly. I've done that before, and that's appropriate. Other times, though, it's a lot trickier, and firing in a small business is a hard thing to do because you're close. You know every single person in the business. You know each other well. You spend time with people. Firing in a small business is hard. If you fire fast, though, you do reduce the risk of behavioral issues, right? If they're being poisonous, that poison doesn't percolate across the company. It doesn't twist other people. It doesn't cost you other employees. You don't get balkanization. You don't lose management time. I don't know how much time you guys have spent, but I've spent a lot of time dealing with employees that were borderline, that I wasn't sure whether or not I should hire or whether or not I should keep or let go. And I've spent time developing them, and sometimes I've wasted time developing them. I've put effort into employees for a month and a half, and then had to let them go because it just wasn't working out. So firing fast avoids that. And it definitely sends a clear message. If you're getting a shift in the company, if some people are bad actors, if they're causing problems, firing one of them will send a message very quickly to everybody else. But we're startups. Do we want to be sending those messages? Do we want to be making everybody afraid for their jobs? I get very uncomfortable about the consequences of firing people, and I'll do it if I have to. But it has to be a balanced approach. And so So sometimes, like I said, I've hired fast and fired slow. And sometimes when you're looking at firing slowly, I mean, you can do all the standard things. You do professional improvement plans. You do a variety of development options. Firing is a tricky thing. And balancing that is I think one of the greatest challenges that you're going to have as you grow your team. And I think it's hard to give you direct advice on firing because it's really so much about how someone's fitting with your culture. But at the end of the day, just make sure that you're reflective and you take time. Unless it's egregious, step away from the situation. I sent someone home that I was going to fire. I stepped away. I spent a day to think about it. I sent him a letter. He's now one of my top performing employees. I could have fired him fast. I chose not to, and he's been spectacular. So at least take the moment to reflect and see if there's a path for that person. But anyway, so hopefully these give you some things to think about. Now, I've, like I said, made a ton of mistakes along here. But in this time, we've had a lot of successes. So we've got an operation in Ghana now. We've got a team of 15 people working in Ghana. We've got hundreds of people that we've trained to farm palm weevils there. They eat them there anyway. They love them. They're just insanely expensive. And so now there are all these people who are farming them, hundreds of them, building their own local economies. We've come out with a whole slew of new products. So shockingly, Americans have decided that they like insects. I'm blown away by this. This is not where I thought our business would be. It really was focused in Mexico and Africa, but it's popular. If you're interested, if you want to follow up, feel free to email me if you have any questions. You can go to our website there or tweet us at Aketa Crickets. And if you go to our website and buy a product, I don't have it up here because my marketing guy just gave it to me, but if you type in SBF 20, you get a 20% discount on products. If you want to try a bag of crickets, I love the Texas barbecue. I think it's delicious, but I like barbecue chips. Anyway, thanks so much for your time.